think it's gonna matter right
That's
now.
good.
Do we have any received comments from the floor? Does anybody have any comments? We have Shelley, are you gonna get everybody to sign in that's in the meeting today? Not,
I've seen this color.
oh, thank you very
The
much.
same way.
I'll remember that.
I hope so.
So we have no comments from the floor. Okay. Oh, okay.
Those are for the.
Ron Wilson. Ron Wilson lives in Mud Thursday.
Yeah, I know, Ron very well.
Lives,
Do what?
he lives in Mud Thursday.
What,
That's the election results.
All of these, Brian?
Yes, ma'am.
somebody's already signed it. I'll sign it again for you.
I've got another. There's another one.
Okay,
Did you?
I haven't signed anything. My handwriting sucks without that.
Not that bad.
Who's the secretary?
Pam.
Pam,
Thank you. Right here. I'm
Hey.
right here.
you can sign that there. Okay, we do have comments from the floor. Ron Wilson wants us to speak. You're the only one, yeah. Hello, Ron, nice to see you tonight.
Ron Wilson, I've been a resident of 136 for a long time. Thank the party directors for all the service they do this over the years.
Thank you, Ron. If
Thank
coming
you.
from you, that's quite a statement. We appreciate that. All right, we go to the consent agenda. We approve the consent agenda unless the director wants to discuss one of the items on the consent agenda. Does anybody wish to discuss any of the items in the consent agenda? If not, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. All right, great. We get to the regular agenda, and I'm going to move up items 12 through 16 up to the top of the agenda, which is supplemental agenda in English and Spanish to canvass the returns of the director's elections held on May 4th, 2024, and adopt an order declaring results of directors.
I second that.
Where is it? Do we have something to canvass?
So we are moving,
12.
We're moving 12, we're going to move 12 through 16 up to the top of the regular agenda. Here, you can take mine.
I've got one last one. I apologize.
I'll have to read somebody else's.
All right. So yes, 12 through
16.
So first item here to consider is to canvass the results of the election. We do have the final election results from Montgomery County, who conducted the election on the district's behalf. These are the official results of the election. I'll read those off and then we can consider adopting the order canvassing the results. Pamela Fontenot, 75 votes. Vince Frederick, 142. Murray Smith, 118. Kent Maggart, 133. Ken Polk, 70 votes. So there were 3 positions up for election. The top 3 vote getters, Vince Frederick, Kent Maggart, Murray Smith. We do need a motion to adopt the order canvassing the results of the election.
I make a motion.
Is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
Okay, next item is to consider accepting the qualification statements, bonds, oaths of office, affidavit of current director, and elections not to disclose for the newly elected directors. So this will be a two-step process. First, I need to administer the oath to each of our three new directors. Once I administer the oath, the current board needs to take action on item 13 to accept the qualification statements, bonds, oaths of office, et cetera, for those new directors. Once you take action on 13, the new directors will be seated up here and begin to take action on behalf of the district.
So that does not require a motion, does it?
Well, first, we need to administer the oath and then we need a motion.
Okay. Does the new officer, do directors or the old directors make that motion?
New directors act on 13, I'm sorry, current directors act on 13, new directors act on 14.
Sure, I understand. Okay.
Who wants to go first?
Yeah, there's one of them. Thank you.
All right, raise your right hand. You, Kent Maggart, solemnly swear or affirm that you'll faithfully execute the duties of the office of Director of Montgomery County Med number 36 of Montgomery County, Texas, and to the best of your ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States. This takes it up, God.
I will. Thank you.
And you, Murray Smith, solemnly swear or affirm that you'll faithfully execute the duties of the office of Director of Montgomery County Med number 36. States Texas, and to the best of your ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States of this state, so help you God. Vince Frederick, solemnly swear to faithfully execute the duties of the office of Director of Montgomery County Med number 36, in the state of Texas. Best of your ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States of this state, so help you God. Good luck. All right, now we need to take action on item number 13.
I so moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Motion carries. Thank you all very much. And Eric has.
I do. On behalf of the MUD and MUD 36 and Woodlands Water Agency, we'd like to present you with, I guess, a plaque, modern day plaque, for your service all these years. I wanted to, each of them say the same thing. There's one for each, but I wanted to read it off to you. Our sincere thank you and appreciation for exceptional leadership and dedicated service to Montgomery County Municipal Utility District number 36. Pam Fontenot came in May of 2021. Scott Haynes came in May of 1996. Been here a
I
while.
was 12 years old.
That's right. And Jan came in September of 1992.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, those are plaques and not tombstones, right?
But they could be weapons.
Saw that right away.
Thank you very much. We do
Thank you
appreciate it.
very much. Very lovely.
I would like the new
Now
guys
y'all
to
can go to the gallery and the new directors can come take their seats.
Hello.
Thank you very much.
Jeez. I got an extra hand.
Yes,
There
I
we
do.
go.
Yes, I do.
Thank you so much.
Thank y'all.
How are you?
Yeah. Okay, well, that's nicer.
All right, we'll go ahead and continue on. My agenda has item 14, election of officers. I don't know if there's different numbers that some of y'all have, but,
That's what we got, I think.
all right, so item 14, election of officers. We have, for officer positions of the district, we have president, vice president, secretary, and then 2 assistant secretaries. The way this works, we go through and consider nominations. We have 1 nomination for a particular position, and we can vote by unanimous consent. If there are multiple nominations, then we vote for whoever we choose as the nominee. We need a majority vote, so we need 3 votes. If there's 2, or whatever, then we go through a runoff revote. If we have a more than 1 nominee for a particular position, we can handle that by a voice vote, or we can do it by ballots and tear up a sheet of paper, hand out sheets, and y'all fill out your preferred candidate. How do y'all want to handle a vote if there are more than one, there's more than 1 nominee for a position? A voice vote or
Voice.
I think that's fine.
voice? Okay. All right. So start at the top. President, do we have a nomination for president?
I nominate Sharon.
Okay. Do we have any other nominations?
May I have a little bit of a discussion?
Well, do you accept the nomination?
I do accept the nomination. I just wanted to tell you all, because we don't know each other very well. I was elected 2 years ago. My background is residential real estate development, commercial real estate development. I've lived in the neighborhood 17 years. And I'm a community activist and a volunteer. And I have served on many boards as president, vice president, and vice chair. But I wanted to tell you that I'm so pleased that we have 3 engineers, 4 engineers now, which I think is a great asset to Mud 36 right now. And frankly, I would be willing to serve for a year until everybody gets up to speed. And then we're going to vote again next year and potentially pick another president after everyone is up to speed. So I just wanted to say that I don't need to stay as long as Scott for 25 years or whatever he did. Okay. I'm willing to serve for a year, and let's just get moving together.
Any other nominations for president?
I nominate Kent Magner.
I'm second that.
Any other nominations for president? Okay, if not, we will call the vote on the nomination. All those in favor for Sharon as for president? Okay, 2, and all those in favor of Kent? 3, Kent, vice president. All right, next, vice president. Do we have a nomination for vice president?
I nominate Vince Frederick.
I'm second that.
Do we have any other nominations for vice president? Not, we vote by unanimous consent. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Next is secretary. We have a nomination for secretary.
I'll nominate Murray Smith.
Okay. Any other nominations for secretary? Not, all those in favor?
Somebody need a second.
Well, no, you don't have to have a
Okay.
second for nominations.
Okay.
For regular motions, you're right.
Okay.
You do, but nominations are the exception. There are no other nominations. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Okay, nomination passes. Assistant Secretary, we currently have both Pete and Sharon as Assistant Secretary. Are y'all willing to continue to serve in your role as Assistant Secretary?
Whatever that means, sure.
And
There's no action necessary on Assistant Secretary. Those positions will stay the same. Next, so that'll take us to item 15. Appointment of trustee and alternates. We have, let's see, we have vacancy of trustee, vacancy of first alternate. We do not have a second alternate. We are recommended that all the districts have second alternates in case first, the primary can't attend, the second can't attend, we have a second backup. So we'll start with trustee. Do we have a nomination for trustee?
I nominate Sharon.
Okay, do we have any other nomination?
Nominate.
Accept the nomination.
I do.
I nominate Kent.
Accept the nomination.
Yes.
Any other nominations? All those in favor, Sharon?
Aye.
2 votes. All those in favor, Kent? 3.
Surprise.
Kent, congratulations.
Thank you.
Next, first alternate. Do we have a nomination for first alternate?
Nominate Murray.
Okay, accept the nomination.
Yeah.
Okay, any other nominations for first alternate? If not, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Aye. And any abstentions? Motion carries.
I oppose.
All right, nomination passes. Next is second alternate. Do we have a nomination for second alternate?
Might as well be Vince.
Accept the nomination.
I accept.
Okay. Any other nominations for second alternate? Not all those in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? You can't vote against your nomination.
I can't too. Aye.
There you go.
We'll make that one unanimous.
No, we won't. All right. Do you vote in favor? Okay.
This will be fun.
All right. Okay, that takes us through appointment of trustees and alternates. We'll move on to easier stuff. District registration form. So that's a document that's filed with TCEQ, reflects the officers of who the new directors are, what the officer positions are, what the terms of office are. Do we have a motion to authorize the filing of that updated district registration form?
So moved.
Motion, do we have a second?
I second.
In favor?
Aye.
You have to go against this.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Item 17, preparation and maintenance of local government officers list. We need to update that list to include our new directors. We have a motion on item number 17.
So moved.
A second,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. 18, training requirements for the Open Meetings Act and Public Information Act. Kent, I know you're familiar with this from serving before. You still got your paperwork, and you don't have to go through and go through the training again, but invite, you know the drill on that.
Well, it's all on the video, right?
Correct. Before we had to.
Do we
hand
have to
out
find-
CDs,
But do you have to sign a thing that you've looked at it?
so-
Do you bring that in?
Yeah, so for learning events, there's a memo in your packet of materials. It has the information about the need to complete that training. It's a 1-hour course, one for public information, one for open meetings. There's a link now to a video. Used to, we have to hand out CDs to people. Now there's a link to a website it's the Attorney General's website. And you go to that website, you watch the 1-hour video for open meetings, 1-hour video for public information. When you complete it, there's a certificate of completion that you can either print or download. Give those 2 certificates to Shelley. She'll put that in your district file. And you only have to do that once, but that'll evidence your completion of that training requirement.
I may have completed that already for the
Okay.
township, but I'll check and see if they've got documentation.
Do you think it's different for the township as well as?
No.
It was still Texas.
Yeah, it's just, it's a Attorney
Thank
General
you.
statement. Yeah, and so, supposed to do it within 90 days of being elected. I know you don't won't wait that long, but just to let you know.
And where do we get that document?
That should be in. the
Oh, in that-
materials I
okay.
gave you. Yeah, so you may, if you gave it back to Shelley.
Oh, we've already signed it?
It's a memo.
Oh, okay.
All right, no action is necessary on item 18. 19, conflicts disclosure reporting requirements. Also a memo in your packet had some check yes or no boxes. 99% of the time, our directors don't have any conflicts. On the off chance you think you might have one either now or sometime in the future, just visit with me offline. Those are always very facts and circumstances specific about whether you have a potential conflict. We can think about if there's any kind of action you would need to take to file any sort of form or take any other action. No action is necessary on item 19. So with that, Kent, I'll go ahead and hand it back over to you as presiding officer to pick up on the rest of the agenda.
Shelley, I got one question on the finance report final. Do you give us
Like a copy of the audit?
well, no. I'm talking about the thing we fill out for our
Oh, yeah.
Is it, do you have it or should we come to you to get it or?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. We are down to item 20, right?
Do the consent.
No, we have to go back to the beginning page.
Well, you had the consent. I thought you already did the
So we're
consent.
back to 8.
Oh, okay.
Regular agenda.
Okay, regular agenda. So we've done you did the consent agenda. Okay. Receiving the regular monthly SJR Woodlands Division report, including updates on operations, projects, and public outreach.
Good
Who's
evening.
up?
My name is Chris Meeks. I'm the Utility Enterprise Manager for the River Authority. In that position, I manage the Woodlands Division as well as the GRP Division. The GRP Division is a surface water facility that sends water to about 149 systems throughout. In your package, you'll see about 20 pages of our daily operations report. What that means is you're going to see about 8 to 10 pages of Woodlands reports as well as the monthly operations report. So in the last month of April, there were no violations, nothing out of the ordinary. But if you see something through the report that you have a question about, just let me know and I'll answer it.
Did we have a violation during the flood event?
That's exactly what I was thinking of.
So
I read something about it. It was just a MGD violation. Huh?
So you'll see it in next month's report, but I guess the highlight of it is, so on that Thursday when you started raining real bad, in a 9-hour period, we had 8 inches of rain. That 8 inches of rain equated to a instantaneous flow through the plant of 32 million gallons.
Right.
And so our average annual daily flow is about 3.2 to 3.4. And so it went up about almost tenfold, about 9-fold to 32 sustained. Our permitted 2-hour peak is 18 million gallons a day. And our 40% above that is 25.2 MGD. We're at about 26.2, 25.6, somewhere in that nature. So we will receive a violation for being above 18 MGD as well as being above the 40% rule as well.
And what does that mean, the violation?
Don't know if it'll come with fines. They never have in the past. It basically just means the TCEQ is going to send us a letter saying you're in violation. You need to do whatever you can.
You
get
need to
back.
stop the rain. That's all.
I can do that.
You know what?
A lot of it comes is the, I&I inflow and infiltration. Infiltrations, when it comes through the pipes, basically groundwater inflows, cracks, manholes and stuff like that. So this is more of an instantaneous. It started raining and it got into the system pretty quick. So it's more likely it's inflow related because it was not sustainable.
Any violation of BOD, TSS, anything like that?
No, quality was fine. Quantity was high.
Okay.
Why is there so much stormwater going through the wastewater treatment plant versus that just being discharged? How did it get in there?
So it's a lot just from the system itself, from the mud system as well as the river authority system. We did a study back in 2017 through about 2019, I believe. We call it the STAR program. From that, we determined a lot of the river authority lines in this area were already CIPP. And so we had some low-lying manholes that we raised the manholes up a little bit, changed them out from having thick hole covers to just solid covers as well. And then from that, the MUDs embarked on a 3 to 5 year investigation of what we call the red areas. We use the traffic light red, yellow, green. And so from that, the MUDs are embarking on a study to determine where the inflow is coming from.
That's a significant inflow. I mean, it takes some real effort to get that into the system. So we don't have any cross piping going on where stormwater's going places it's not supposed to.
Not on the river side, I'm not sure.
Okay, it's got to come from somewhere. That's okay.
Infiltration is what, 5%? About 5%, right?
I'd have to look back and see. Infiltration wasn't too much that we noticed. We checked it during a drought, basically. The STAR program had a great period of basically 2 months with no rain, and then like 2 months of constant rain just by happenstance. Inflow wasn't that, infiltration wasn't that high, inflow was.
Plant 2 was okay though during this storm.
Plant 2 was fine, Plant 3 was fine, no violations expected. The key difference between plants 1 and 2. Now, Plant 3 is in Harper's Landing, so it's a smaller, newer area. never really have any issues up there. Plant 1 has 25 lift stations at tight. And so rather than trying to control all 25 lift stations at the same time, potential causing overflows in the system, we just allow the lift stations to do what they're supposed to do and send it to the plant.
Absolutely.
Plant 2's only got 4 lift stations tied to it, and it has about a 3-mile main trunk line tied to it that goes from 72 inches down to about 32 inches or so. So we're able to shut down the on-site lift station at the plant and back it up through that line, and then gradually bring it into the plant. We meter it through.
Sure.
Did the lightning strikes cause any real damage?
Eric's gonna cover that under his report. At the water system, it did. Wastewater system, it did not. Unless you have any other questions.
Okay. Even act on the general manager's report. Are we gonna have the,
Number 9.
yeah, oh, that's right. Okay, receive the information from SJRA and Freeze Nichols regarding partial rehabilitation net present value.
Everybody. First off, I'm Dan Hildebrand. I am the Technical Services Department Manager with the River Authority, so overseeing our engineering, construction management, construction inspection, and GIS teams that support all the operating divisions of the authority. So first off, congratulations on the new MUD directors, and we're looking forward to working with you. The piece that we have on the agenda item here is one very small piece of 2.5 years worth of work. So we understand there's a lot of documentation out there, a lot of information regarding the wastewater treatment facility. We want to make sure we are getting you up to speed on that. We plan on providing flash drives to all MUD directors with hundreds, we'll say, of documents and big reports, everything that we've presented over the past 3 years. So we want to get you that information so you're informed. We do plan on having some orientation sessions that will specifically get into the wastewater project in more detail. So don't feel like you got to ask every single question tonight. We are going to provide a lot of opportunities to get up to speed.
Dan, you're thinking about that June or July
For the orientation?
Right.
Uh,
for new MUD directors.
So there's one for Woodlands Water that Eric, I believe, is already scheduled. And SRA is looking in the June, potentially July timeframe too. So it'll be coming in the next couple months. The item here, someone's going to, with the 36 agenda, is going to have to tell me on page numbers, but it's going to look like a table like this. Probably around 30, 40. Page 40. So where this stemmed was back in March, SRA presented a 10-year project plan to all the boards and the trustees. In there, we talked about the replacement of wastewater treatment facility number 1. And we presented what you could refer to as like a baseline schedule, which is one of the assumptions that goes into this analysis. The baseline schedule right now is to have a new plant constructed in 2030, and you would be putting that new plant online and decommissioning the existing facility that's out of wastewater treatment facility 1. We then spoke on, well, what if there's a delay? What if we delay 18 months? What if we delay 3 years to 5 years? And that got into a discussion of, all right, well, what would we have to rehab or replace? What infrastructure along the facility to even be able to maintain level of service with that delay? So we presented a slide that showed 2 columns of infrastructure that we felt if there was an 18-month delay, we need to replace this. If there's a delay greater than 18 months, we need to replace these 2 columns. So I know you don't have that slide in front of you, but it relates directly to all the items that are numbered here on the spreadsheet, page 40 and 41. So we got some questions. We got questions on, all right, well, can you help us quantify, these items you put up here? How much is that? How many potential millions of dollars is that to where we could evaluate as MUD directors, as a community, that advantageous for us to delay the project and do these rehab items or move forward with the replacement of the facility? So that was the ask that went to the trustees last month in April, and the trustees authorized $50,000 for Freeze Nichols, which is SRA's engineering consultant that's been helping us through this wastewater strategic plan. We do have a project manager with Teresa Nichols, David Munn, who has been with it, working on this study with SRA and part of this net present value analysis. So the questions get really technical, I'm gonna pass it off to him. So going back, page 40.
$50,000, is that what you said?
Yes, $50,000 was the authorization for the trustees to do this one specific task on net present value analysis. So on this table, you'll see items 1 through 24. And then in the next column, there's a blue column that says 18 months. Those are our cost estimates, high-level cost estimates associated with the repair, replacement, rehab of those components. Second column, you'll see costs associated with more items. That is if there's a delay greater than that 18-month time period. The next two columns are just essentially notes associated with how those costs were developed. Bottom line, page 41, there's two numbers. A total for that first column of $8.5 million. And the second column of 33.2. So those are the total cost estimates if you have those two different schedules, say, and a delay to the replacement of the facility.
So what you're saying is if you delay the construction by 18 months, it's going to cost $8.5 million. If you delay it more than 18 months, it's going to cost $33 million extra. Is that what you're saying?
And that would be essentially,
Not extra.
it's not extra. So,
Well, it's over and above the construction cost, isn't it?
yeah, the two I think you're kind of talking two different things. The 33 million includes the items that are included in the 8.5. But what you're getting to, I feel like, is we've referred to it as a sunk cost, because the assumption that goes into this is you're eventually going to replace that plant.
Yes.
And so that 33 million is on top of all the normal O&M maintenance components. These are more kind of capital replacement costs of infrastructure at the facility.
Okay, if you build the plant at the beginning of 18 months, you save that 33 million or that 8.5 million. Is that's so?
If you keep on our baseline schedule, these costs would not incur.
Right.
Is that fair?
I understand that, yes.
Question.
Yes.
So you're replacing very significant items here, such as an aeration basin, diffusers, rehabilitation of clarifiers. That sounds like things that aren't good for more than a couple of years, huh?
Well, no, there's some components on here that, yeah, if you replace
They should be good for 20 more years if you replace some of these items.
typical electrical, mechanical components, yeah, 20-year life expectancy.
Right, okay.
If you're getting into structural components like full basins, concrete, that could be upwards of 50.
Okay.
Let me just take a line item. It says, let's take number 20. It says, digester blower replacement. 2.693 million. Now, those aren't going to last 5 years. If you replace them, they're going to last a lot longer than 5 years, correct? So it's kind of almost disingenuous to say, to me, if you took all of these items on column 2 here, the $33 million, that plant would run a whole lot longer than 5 years. Then I understand this is the cost to put it in, but a lot of this stuff is not gonna, I mean, they got 10, 15, 20-year life, right?
So I'll step up here for a second. Hi, my name is Connie Curtis. I'm the Director of Technical and Operational Services of the SRA. So I'm over engineering, construction management, GIS, SCADA, INC, and IT. So I work with Dan. So I'm his boss and I've been working alongside him with this. So Mr. Magner, to answer your question, I wouldn't classify it as disingenuous. So once again, I want to go back to the assumption here that we had from the beginning. So how we ended up doing this analysis was because there was a supplemental agreement. I'm sure y'all have heard about the supplemental agreement for $40 million that we were asking to keep us moving forward with the design. And that helps us stay on, not have that 18-month delay. But the question was raised of what happens if we do wait until the November canvassing in 2025 of a potential tax rollback, right? And so That's where the 18 months really came into of what would we need to construct? And that's where the $8.5 million came from. And you're correct, like that stuff would have longer lifespan, but this is not the full list of projects and not the full cost that we would need to incur to keep the plant truly running that extra 20 years, right? So we would need these while the other construction of the new plant is coming online. And then you would end up with, as Dan noted, a sunk cost essentially of brand new infrastructure that's no longer going to be as part of the primary train of treatment anymore. It's there that we've had to build it to make it through until the new plant comes online. And where we're going to get is that's not recommended, and we're not recommending it. So we are trying to be as transparent and as honest with you all as possible. This is a list of projects that if we delay 18 months or past a 18-month to 5-year period, this is a list of projects that we would need to go build at treatment plant 1 while the other plant is being constructed.
Are these things that are these, let's look at number 20 again, the blower replacement. Are these things that you have reason to believe are going to fail sometime in the next 18 to 36 months?
Yes.
There is indications from your preventive maintenance program that says that?
We just clarify, not in the next 24 to 36 months, but this, you're looking at 6 years. You look from 2030 to 2032, and then 2030 to 2035. And so not in the next 24, 36, but 6+ years, definitely. So,
And do you have a normal turnaround time for how many times has this been replaced since the plant's been built?
we have, yeah,
How often do you replace it, I guess is what I'm asking.
I have to go back and check. I don't keep that in my head.
No, I don't expect you
Yeah,
to.
we keep them in the work order system, and it's roughly every 20 years, about every 10 to 12, we do a rebuild on the mowers.
Right.
Motors, about the same time we do the blowers as well.
And one item I think that has come up in a lot of MUDs, and just to bring it up, it's in that 18-month to 5-year column, which is the aeration basins. And so just to kind of answer a question that we've had asked a handful of times, is aeration basin number 1 and number 2 have been out of service for a while, but we've known that, and we've planned for it in the 2015 timeframe. And we applied through the Water Development Board to get funding to be able to pay to replace those in 2017. We did the full design and got ready to go to construction in 2020, about the time the consolidation study started.
Gotcha.
So we put it off because we didn't want to spend $14 to $15 million to build these new aeration basins if we were going to move the plant somewhere else, if we were going to have to bring and consolidate, make it bigger, or if we were going to build a new plant. So aeration basin number 1 and number 2 truly cannot be delayed much longer.
Sure.
So.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Jump to page 42. It's going to be a chart like this, 2 red dots and a green line. If you remember those 2 costs, the 8.5 and the 33 million from the previous table, those coincide with the two red dots. Along the x-axis is the number of years the full wastewater treatment facility replacement is delayed. So again, that is the assumption based on what we've done up to date on our master plan of building a new 7 MGD MDR facility adjacent to the existing one, and then demolishing the existing facility and switching over to the new one. So that's a key assumption that goes into this analysis.
Is that a cumulative cost or a yearly cost on the green line?
On the green line?
I guess it's not cumulative because it goes down. Never mind.
Correct. So that is, the green line is essentially a rehab cost threshold, a tipping point, to where if one of those red dots landed on that green line, it would be a neutral decision.
Right.
If the red dots were to the right of the line or below the line, it would be advantageous to move forward with those rehabilitations rather than replacing and delaying the plan. Where they are on this graph is above the green line or to the left of it, which means it is not economically favorable to delay the wastewater treatment facility replacement. So essentially our recommendation, and based on this analysis, is to continue to proceed forward with design and construction of the new facility. We did do a sensitivity analysis on this. So, you know, I'm not a financial expert, but there's a lot of variables that go into net present value analysis regarding discounts rates, assumptions on escalation, bond interest rates. Some of that was talked about at the trustee meeting. We have coordinated with financial advisors on some of the bond interest rates. But we also did a sensitivity analysis where we kind of pushed those to the limit, brought them down to a lower limit. And in the scenarios that we thought were even potentially plausible, the analysis results did not change. And those red dots were always to the left or above of that threshold. So we do have that information too. So I think I'll pause there. That's really what we wanted to present
Okay.
tonight. This is just a small piece of the overall big rock.
I got one question that I've been on the periphery of this for the last year, and I'm never clear on, has any property been purchased in the area of the proposed plan? Purchased? Are any agreements signed?
My name's Ed Shackelford. I'm Director of Operations at the Woodlands Division, GRP Division, Highlands Division, Lake Conroe Division, and Flood Management. So 3 of my divisions are involved as well. To answer your question, Mr. Maggard, we have made contact with the property owners with letters of introduction and requests for right of entry. We've hired appraisers, we've hired surveyors, we've hired environmental specialists to go see if there's anything that we need to worry about. But no offers have been tendered.
Reason I ask is when I was out campaigning, somebody had apparently tried to lease some storage space over there, and they got a no-go because of this. They said that the township was going to buy it, but that was close enough.
Well, we've had,
So anyway, that's what brought it up.
we've had one particular business owner in contact with us for at least the last 18 months, checking status on a regular basis because he's in that situation of, well, do I lease this space or do I not?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
That's our summary. Thank you.
Okay, then
Thank
we
you very
got
much.
item 10, review and discuss the draft of the SGRA 2025 budget. Woodlands Division.
Bring Haley up here, who's gonna give you some highlights on the budget as well as the schedule.
My name is Haley Longhorn. I'm with the accounting department at Edgewood. So it's haven't met before. So today we have the FY25 budget for Woodlands for y'all. It is in your packet, the presentation's in the packet, and then the presentation is our line item. Budget in there.
And you're on page 43, Haley, is that correct?
Yes, we're on page 43. Well, we're starting. So just real quick on the calendar of events for this. So we're here in May to present it. We'll be back in June for any questions that you may have, and then we'll ask you for your vote in July at the budget level to tell your trustee how to vote in the August trustees meeting, and then our board votes in August. So a few months ahead of us if y'all have any questions on this. So I'm going to keep it at just a high level highlights, but I'm happy to go through the presentation further if y'all want or if you have any questions. So the first 2 slides is what I'm planning on discussing here. So the first slide, we have 3 rates that the Woodlands charges the MUDs. We have our wholesale water, wholesale wastewater, and the GRP fee. So the first slide here is our wholesale water and wastewater rate. We are proposing to drop the wholesale water rate to $2.73 per 1,000 gallons, which is a 5-cent reduction, which is about 2%. On the wastewater side, we're proposing to keep it the same as FY24. They're going to FY25 at $5.65 per 1,000 gallons. So the third rate we have, it's got some different names that y'all probably heard, but the blended rate, the pass-through rate, or the surface water conversion, all of those different names. The rate on the second slide is that one. So on y'all's bills is the surface water conversion rate. We are proposing to drop this rate from $3.20 to $2.97. Just one thing to note here, that the GRP review committee has not seen this yet, so it is subject to change. It's not necessarily expected, but it is subject to change because they've not seen it. But we are proposing that we drop the rate here to $2.
So a quick question. Are these the rates for the consumer or the rates that are then marked up to the consumer?
This is wholesale, so it's our rates to you as the MUD, so you are our consumer.
Gotcha.
Perspective, but
Okay.
take it a step further than these are y'all's rates for your customers.
The exception is GRP.
Yeah.
The GRP fee is a straight pass through.
Okay. Quick question, why the rate decreases? What's driving this?
So from the Woodland side of things, there's a little bit of change in expenses, but it was primarily related to water loss and the GRP rate changes. So the Woodlands division, we purchase our water, essentially the surface water that we consume, and then the groundwater we pump, we purchase that from the GRP division at Estuary. And there is a deficit, if you will, on our books between the expense that we pay in GRP and then the passenger revenue that we collect. And so that difference, that deficit there, when that rate dropped, then that deficit went down. So then we use the wholesale water to make up the difference on that deficit. So if deficit goes down, we don't have to make up as much in the wholesale water. That's half of it. The other half, figuratively, but the first thing is that deficit decreased because the GRP rate decreased. Second thing is water loss. So we have reduced our water loss from 5.5% to 4%.
Excellent.
So when we reduce our water loss,
You save
account
money.
for more, yes, so we can increase our sales.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, GRP's got two main components. The first is, as we talked, I think last month or the month before, the bond defeasance of $14 million equated to a 3-cent reduction. And then the other part of it is the demands have increased quite a bit. So it's about, I think it's 4 MGD, 4 million gallons a day, which equates to about $45 million per year additional revenue. Don't have the need for it at this point with any expenses. So therefore, revenue goes up, costs go down.
Very good.
I'd like to clarify just for general public and maybe the GRP fee and the SWC fee that are on our bills are the same thing. Surface water conversion is what's the retail,
yeah.
that's what people see, and
Yeah.
they talk about GRP and it was confusing. So I think you guys remember, it's probably when it first started, they decided it was the groundwater reduction plan was too confusing to people. So I think probably remember, or Eric, isn't that what they did? So now they call it SWC, surface water conversion for the retail customer.
Okay. I'm impressed to see your headcount remain, your total headcount remains pretty stable over the almost 10-year period you've got here.
There.
Yeah, well, you must be to do it over, I mean, to not increase your headcount over almost 10 years. So that's impressive. Yeah.
The top.
Okay. So you're really doing well on the top number, Chris.
Contractors and stuff, everything in our FTE count is employees and administrators. There's no contractors.
Oh, I assumed that the
The
indirect was contractors.
is Estuary employees that allocate their time to the Woodlands.
Okay,
And then
gotcha.
direct is people that work directly for the Woodlands.
Okay, that's a good question about the contractors. Okay. Okay, well, that means you're sharing the resources by using the
Yes.
indirects. That's even better.
So on the next slide, there's a breakdown of every department that's included in indirect.
Mhm.
So it's our IT, accounting, TSD, all of those departments make up our indirect.
That looks very efficient. Thank you.
One question, what's the current reserve that you all keep, emergency reserve? Is it still 90 days?
So we have an emergency reserve that's currently 2.6 million and change. So it's following the resolution. The operating reserve is a 3-month operating reserve, 90 days. I believe it's about $6.5 million for FY24, 3-month operating.
Check on that, but I think it's like 7.
Okay.
So it's still 90 days, basically,
Still 90 days.
and roughly 7 million.
Well, please tell me
I'm
about.
not gonna hold you to it.
Okay.
6 or 7 million.
6 million. You can go if I go there. 6 million.
No, I just trying to clarify.
This looks good. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, see the attorney's report.
Nothing additional that's not already covered on the agenda today.
You're dismissed.
I like that.
It's been a long day, right?
No news is good news on the attorney's report. Yes, sir.
You're now off the clock.
Happy to.
Happy to help.
Yeah.
And I don't know what this
Number 20.
supplement, well, what's the supplemental agenda in English and Spanish?
Hour to 20.
Okay,
We already did that part.
see the general manager's report.
Yes, thank you. I just have a couple updates to give you. First is, wanted to give you some flooding and drainage reports from the storm a couple weeks ago. Overall, the Woodlands fared very well in the storm as far as the drainage goes. We do have a couple hot spots just throughout the Woodlands. We were checking on those throughout the storm, and they fared pretty well. We do have some street flooding in some areas, although that's how the system is designed. The streets are designed to water in the heavier event storms, so those all held up pretty well. The only area where we know where there was reported house flooding is up in Harper's Landing, on the north end of Harper's Landing as it backs up to River Plantation.
Oh,
Yep.
River Plantation got hit really
they
hard.
did.
They did.
So did some of those other areas north of the lake and east. So, but all in all, the Woodlands held up pretty well with the drainage.
Good to hear.
Did not hold up so well with some of the lightning that occurred during the same event. You might have seen last Monday in an email sent out by us an announcement that we were having some issues due to a lightning strike. I don't know who signs up for that or signed up for that, but if you look at the map on the wall behind you there, in the orange at the top, you see that square that's not orange?
Yeah.
Right in that area roughly is where water plant 3 is. It was struck by lightning. When it was struck by lightning, it disabled the chlorinator in the open position.
Oh, lovely.
And then
No.
That's,
setting is, the sensor that tells STRA that it's working or not, that was disabled as well. So the primary and backup were disabled in the open position. What, as you can imagine, from that point kind of out, if you will, kind of visualize a kind of an epicenter. From that point, just outward, there was an increased amount of chlorine that was injected in the system. We partnered with STRA, kind of an all hands on deck situation where we had our field crews and theirs throughout really the northern portion. It didn't, to be honest with you, I'm going into a lot of detail. It didn't affect y'all.
Yeah.
But giving you some more detail on it. But that started on Monday. By midday on Tuesday, we had about 95% of the whole area that was affected. Those levels back down. And then that evening, we were finishing up some hot spots that were, just kind of isolated. So, but all in all.
People get any kind of alert, most people get any kind of an alert that it was being managed.
the
Yes.
newsletter email went out fast.
Yes, so I created a notice, worked through our PR and some other folks, STRA, and we sent that out through our WaterSmart. One thing I will add, John may talk about it, I don't know if he's, there you go. Talk about it in his report, but we sent that out through WaterSmart. So we have a couple different ways that we can send information out to folks via email. WaterSmart is one. So right now we have 45% of the Woodlands signed up for WaterSmart. A year ago, we had 19. So we have really bumped that up. We want to get up as high as we can because it's a great tool for folks. But in this case, 83% of folks that receive that open that up. And that is unheard of.
Is that the email?
That's the email.
Yeah.
83% of
No, I
people
got
open that email,
Absolutely.
which open rate on, stuff that you send out
That's
is
maybe 10%.
20 or 30 is probably the average.
Yeah.
And we hover more like in the 50s to 60% on most other things. But in this case, people listened.
Is this, just out of curiosity, because of some of the stuff I saw on social media, this is gaseous chlorinator, right?
Mhm.
Okay. There were people going, oh, there's all kinds of heavy metals in it. And I'm like, no. This is
No.
pure chlorine gas.
It is, and it's the disinfection that you use, or that STRA uses to disinfect the water on a regular basis.
Right.
It's just, you have to stay within a certain parameter, and it was elevated. So I believe the ground storage tanks in that area. And by the way, there's 3 different pressure planes in the Woodlands. This is the upper. And so if you kind of draw a southwest to northeast line across that orange and yellow in the middle, the 60, just north of maybe the midway, if you would say, with that line is kind of where that upper plane kind of ends and then the next plane. So never got down to y'all, but that's the report.
Okay, thank you.
I did want to offer that we will be conducting a new director orientation. We're going to have a couple different options, June 5th or June 10th. And that will likely be here mid-morning. We'll go into lunch. We'll probably provide lunch as well, be a couple hours. And we will talk about kind of roles of WWA, what do the MUDs do, what do MUD directors do, things like that, kind of work through that stuff. And then my understanding is SDRA will be hosting their own orientation, which will encompass a plant tour at some point, as well as I think they'll talk more about the 10-year plan and infrastructure as well. We may dabble into a little bit of that, but we're going to focus more on what's the MUDs, what's everybody's responsibility, and how things go.
That's gonna be a different time than these.
Both dates, the 5th.
Theirs will be different times. I don't have those dates yet, but I think it's going to be in that same, within a week or
Are you
so.
giving new directors a choice?
I am.
Okay,
Yeah, we're
good.
going to go and we'll send it. You don't have to choose it yet. We're going to send that to
I
you.
can make one, not the other.
That's right.
That's fine.
Yeah, it's one or the other. Yeah, be the exact same content in both. Let's see. I did want to point out, so last month we talked about, and it was talked about a minute ago, the GRP, the SDRA GRP refund that was sent out to all of the GRP participants. I think it was $12 million to all the GRP participants. The Woodland share was about 3.1 million, almost 3.2 million. And your share is about 118,000. What I wanted to point out to you is on page 6, that's where you can see that credit. If you wanted to see, it is in your April financials on page 6 under other revenue at the top. So that's where you can find it. I just wanted to indicate to folks that we did receive the credit.
Yep.
It is in the books. We're rolling. That's right. The credit is. That's right. Let's see, did want to report also last couple of months, we talked about the drought contingency plan and the water conservation plan. Those two documents were submitted by the deadline, May 1. We have received comments back from the agency that they've been received and accepted. So we're all compliant on providing those two. And then an update on LCRR. You hadn't heard of or what that is. LCRR is lead copper rule revision. It is an EPA national mandate for all municipalities in the country to identify by October of this year what your water pipes, both on the public side and the private side, what type of pipe they are. And so lead was generally utilized up until about 88, then it was banned. So the EPA and TCEQ has said, okay, well, you can identify what was built after that. You can draw that out and say, oh, that's not lead. And then we have to really kind of hone in on what was built prior to that. And so through drawings, through other things, specifically, we have employees that have been here 45 years. They saw that pipe go into the ground. And so to save some money, we've confirmed that the TCEQ and EPA will accept affidavits and testimony from those individuals that saw that pipe go in the ground to testify that it wasn't lead. So for any areas where we cannot testify or have an affidavit in that manner, we are going to have to dig. And so what's that's going to consist of is, if this is the meter box on the public side, or just think of it generally on the street side of the meter box is the public line, we're going to have to dig down right in front of the box, identify what the line type is coming into the meter box. And then on the back side, this is the unprecedented part about LCRR, is municipalities generally haven't had to deal with private side utilities. And in this case, we have to confirm what's on the private side or on the customer side. So we would have to dig down on that side of the meter box to identify what type of pipe that is. So we're working through that. We do have a consultant we've been working with probably for the past 6 or 8 months or so, 6 to 9 months, that is helping us put together that inventory. It's going to be GIS based. So we've kind of already built the framework for that. So we'll be trying to beat that deadline so that we can confirm our inventory.
Too bad you didn't do that when you're changing out all those meters.
That's a good point. We've talked about that because there are some pictures when we were trying to identify. What I didn't mention is the the amount of taps that are older than that date is about 9,000.
Okay.
And so if you do the math, digging, $100 a box or whatever the number is, we've done some estimating, it's pretty significant.
Yes, sir.
That's when we tried to identify a cheaper way by testimony and some of these other ways, old drawings and things to confirm it that way instead of digging this whole thing up. So we did have some pictures that we're taking as part of that. Of course, that was before a lot of this came about. And it's just not clear. That wasn't the intention
No,
of the
of course,
picture, so we were hoping to get lucky and see if we could see in the picture. It was focusing on the meter, but can we actually see them?
See the
And
connections.
they weren't really
Yeah.
usable.
Oh, yeah.
So
Well,
I think, but I do think we're going to be able to get through it without digging too much up.
Since we're the oldest mud, we probably have.
the 9,000.
You have a significant. part.
Yes.
When you say lead pipe, you're not actually talking about the pipe itself.
Yes.
Full,
Yeah.
not just the solder.
Correct. Now,
So
solder.
there actually, that shorter time, there was actually solid lead pipe
Really?
used.
Yes. Across the country. It wasn't used.
Well, I'm talking about around here.
No.
Because most of the pipe, I had one house, I was one of the first 1,000 residents, and it was all galvanized pipe internally. It wasn't lead.
Yeah, we don't believe we have it.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't believe we have it.
Okay.
But it was used, not necessarily in the Woodlands, but it definitely
Okay.
was used across the country. So anyway, let's see. I think that was all I had. I wanted to pass it over and introduce our community outreach coordinator, John Geiger, to give the communication report.
Evening. Hey. Congratulations and welcome to the new directors. Good to have you. I will direct you to page 72 of your packet for your communication reports. I'm going to skip over a lot of important, or a lot of stuff that has context. As Eric referenced, we're going to have a new director orientation. We'll get into communications a little bit more. How we communicate, strategies behind the outlet we use and so forth. So we'll definitely get that information to you. Of course, feel free to reach out to me at any point with questions about anything. All right. Some highlights here. We did get out quite a bit of election information this round. Website updates, did a lot of social media emails, just helping folks understand where to vote and pointing towards the county election website mainly for more information. We do have a rainfall data component to the website now, as well as a map that shows our 7 different rain gauges, so folks can go in and get up-to-date information on their local area. Nice tool for folks, and one more way to draw them to our website. You can find that on the homepage. The following page here, 73, we've got some examples of current marketing materials. I wanted to highlight that Woodlands Water Weekly, especially for the new directors. If you aren't signed up for that weekly, I encourage you to do so. You can do that through the homepage. There's a sign-up sheet right there. And when you sign up for that, you'll also be signing up for our constant contact list. So you'll get other standalone emails as well as that weekly newsletter. That weekly newsletter goes out to about 22,000 accounts and has about a pretty consistent 57% open rate. So a lot of folks read that, and it's a good indication of just the kinds of information, kind of messages we're putting out there. So check that out. And then 74, I want to touch on our infrastructure communications consultant, the work we're doing there with Holloway. Here's our consultant with that, working with the River Authority as well on that effort to get information out on infrastructure renewal. So we've been in the planning phase for a number of months now, and we just entered into the implementation phase. So we have a strategic plan in place. Now we begin to really get to work. Some of the highlights for the near term are going to be development of a website, which will house the latest information. Folks can readily access the latest information on infrastructure projects. We will be forming a citizen advisory group, and we're formulating customer surveys to help guide this effort as well.
The Citizen Advisory Group is going to be made up of residents and other professional or affiliated people with a WWA. What do you call them? What are you calling those people?
Well, what we're trying to do with the Citizen Advisory Group is get a representative community.
Right.
So various demographics, folks from the commercial, folks from the private, There will be,
I read
Hold on there.
I read it in the trustees report, and I can't think of the, what you called it, Yes, forming a resident and business representative advisory group. And then it will be developing a survey for all the WWA customers with input from the Public Education Committee. I mean, it's not a bunch of residents just trying to run the show. They will have the Public Education Committee to facilitate.
yes.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And then, Eric noted, what important tool Water Smart is for us. We're now at 45% accounts registered, growing rapidly. So that's great. That's probably our single biggest customer support tool for helping them understand their water use, manage their costs, get leak alerts, get service alert notifications. So if you're not utilizing Water Smart, I definitely recommend you get signed up for that, get familiar with it, and tell your neighbors about it too. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All I have.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
Item 21, receive the Woodlands Water Trustees Report. And we don't have the trustee here, but I happen to be at the meeting. And I think I want to clarify, Mr. Thaler ruffled some feathers at that meeting with the speech he gave. And so it said that I seconded what Mr. Thaler said, and I didn't second that. What I did is I got up there, and you can look at the video, as I just requested that these existing boards not make any more financial commitments until all these new elected board people got seated and online. You were there. Is that pretty much summarized? Thank you.
That's what happened.
Okay, so anyway, that was my public comment. And it wasn't a second by me in any way, because anyway, we ran independent of most of these other people. But anyway, that was my comment, and I still believe that there shouldn't be any more commitment that these boards make that basically burden us new directors with that issue. So that's my only comment. I think the only other thing was most of the time was spent with this same presentation about the 18 months, 5 years. So anyway, that the trustees report that the summarized here is pretty thorough. I just wanted to comment that I did not second what he said. I did make a comment that I didn't want commitments made that I.
Duly noted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let me find I didn't expect to be running this meeting when we came in here today. So. Okay, we got no special session. And
Reconvene because we didn't recess.
Recess and discuss any matters for placement on future agenda. And I got one that I want to discuss. At the last MUD meeting, Mr. Perez made a presentation that basically disparaged about 15 years and at least 10 MUD directors that were on this board, of which I happen to be one of, in which my name was used. And you made an offer that you'd like to sit down and be informed. And I'd be happy to offer my time.
Let's do that.
My time, without occupying a couple hours of people's time, giving them a history.
Not yet.
And
How many people can you?
no, you and I.
Yeah, just us. two.
Only two.
Yeah,
You can't
but I don't.
have.
But rather than putting it on the agenda and occupying a bunch of people that,
You can. Why?
She isn't on our MUD.
yeah. Well,
All right, come on.
anyway, just you and I, and I'll be happy. We'll get together and I'll,
Next week, how's that sound?
it'll be fun. We'll end up and I'll explain to you a whole lot of stuff here that you don't understand and
I'm gonna bring the numbers, Kent. That's the numbers.
hey, us engineers, that's what we work with.
We work with numbers.
Anyway, if there's nothing else, meeting's adjourned.